everybody, and welcome to A Cup of Grata. I am Debbie G, and it is time. It is that time to bring on one of my favorite people. You all know who he is. It is the phenomenal, the fantastic, the extraordinary David Strickel, who is also the creator of the Stream of David and the Tya Practice, which we will be talking about today. Without further ado, I'm going to bring David to the stage. You all know who he is, and if you don't, let me just tell you that David is somebody that in my life, if I don't even know where I'd be without you, David. You are truly, this practice is rock star. For those joining right now, just get a pen and paper. You're going to want to do that. You're going to want to join the Tya Practice group, which we'll put the links in for you. And we're going to get into some pretty deep discussions today. So I'm going to say trigger warning for all of you who might get triggered by the conversation. It's not our desire to have that happen, but we are cognizant that sometimes that does. So wherever you're watching, whether it's the replay on YouTube, if it's on TikTok, if this is on Facebook or any of the other platforms we're on, hello and welcome. David, welcome back to Cuppa Grata after a year.
It's been a long time since I've been on Cuppa Grata. You realize that, right? We've done all this stuff together over the years. I can't remember the last time. It's probably a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's been at least, I don't know,
a couple of years.
I don't know.
I'm trying to share this to the group right now so they have it. So,
well, you're sharing that out. You know, everybody, we are going to talk about some really fun stuff today. I posted a super interesting question out there on Facebook, and primarily what it was saying is, have you ever been curious about the life source that brought you in to the planet and what was real for them, what is real for them today? And I love that because it really, I was thinking about it, David. When was the last time I actually considered not just what was real for my mom, but the fact of looking at the life that she's led through her eyes? I mean, there's some extraordinary things to be able to look at and see, to be able to know that she's definitely done the best she could do with what she had, just like all of us do. So that's one of the things. How'd the sharing go?
The sharing is okay. It's going to the Tya Practice group, and we're live right now on my YouTube channel as well. So I just want to make sure of those housekeeping things before we dug into our significant topic. And I'm glad you did the trigger warning, because we're going to talk about something that triggers people. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it triggers people, and I want to address the triggers.
Yeah. And
this is coming up today because I told you before that I posted TikTok this week. I've been on TikTok since 2020. And sometimes I post, sometimes I don't. When I'm inspired to post, I post. And I was inspired to post something this week, download very quickly, sort of jotted down what I wanted to talk about, ran outside, hit play, hit record on my phone and recorded this, came back in, cut it down a little bit for time, stuck it on TikTok and forgot about it. And we're at 100,000 views as of today.
I love that.
Which is a lot for me. I know there are people that get 1 million views on TikTok, but 100,000 views for something like what I talk about is pretty good. I'm not dancing.
Yeah. Well, you're not dancing. Well,
I'm not wearing gray sweatpants dancing, so I don't get that much attention. But the topic, it was a big topic.
Well, and I could do one better.
What's that?
And I interrupted you on purpose. I can actually show them the video real quick.
Oh, let's do it. It's not a very long video, so watch the video and then we'll unpack, as they say. That's a good idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So everybody, we're going to put this on really quick.
This will change your life, so stay with me here. All humans operate in a belief system. It's like we're computers and our belief system is our operating system. And we're awakening from a period where our beliefs were heavily influenced by institutions of control. Things like religions, cultures, and governments. They told us what to think and how to believe. And that worked in terms of building societies. It got us to where we are now. And because of our advances in things like travel and communication, we're coming together like never before and learning from each other. We're becoming wiser. We're wising up to the matrix. You see, each generation is born up to speed with their time, and more are awakening to the reality that all reality is an illusion of our own creation, and that we're only controlled when we allow ourselves to be. This is why things like politics and religion are becoming more and more ridiculous while attempting to reassert their dominance, because they know they are dying and their era is ending. As more and more awaken and stop giving power to the old matrix, the more it will attempt to draw us back in. But only fear will accomplish that. So how do you allow yourself to awaken without fear? By understanding that the only real law is universal law, the law of conscious creation. We create our reality via our belief system. But many get tripped up thinking that they can create a system where they only manifest things that they want. And of course, this idea sells books and seminars, though no one ever really achieves it. And it becomes frustrating. And perhaps you find yourself in a practice where you must avoid things like the news and thoughts about your past to keep your vibe up. But there will always be a crash when you bypass. The way through this is to learn to detune your learned judgments. And all of them are learned. When you stop judging any aspect of your life as should not be and begin appreciating the challenges that your life has delivered, everything changes. The abuse and neglect that I encountered as a child, the sexual experiences with adults, being abandoned by my own father and ultimately disowned by my mother, all shaped my mind in a positive way. They actually made me stronger. You see, I had to question everything, and that led me to the only real truth. And all my experiences made me a wiser being. On all of these topics, I now know what it is like, and I fear nothing moving forward. The energy that we call Source or God is love. It's abundance. It's appreciation of all things. This is why the universe always delivers on our vibration, whether our manifestation is wanted or not, because it does not judge anything as bad, not even the most unwanted aspects of our world from our ego perspective. So learn to love every aspect of life, the things that you enjoy, as well as the challenges that create the expansion of consciousness that you came here for in the first place. This will absolutely change your life. When you realize that all suffering is a matter of judgment and that you can simply choose to no longer judge, you accelerate your awakening, because now you're thinking like Source, and you are a being of Source. And when you allow more Source and less ego, you soon realize more joy, clarity, and abundance in your life.
TikTok.
TikTok, find David Strickel on TikTok.
Gotta love TikTok. It's just a great way to communicate and share
I
ideas.
love TikTok.
I love TikTok.
Well, you know, I found out something super exciting. Those of you you're watching right now, I can go live on TikTok now.
Well, good, because we can do lives together on TikTok.
We can do lives
I
together.
have not done a live on TikTok yet. I've been on there for all these years. I do clips and videos and stuff, but I don't do live. So I will, maybe later today.
I love that. You know, all right, David. So I'm going to give you the stage here, and I'll be back momentarily, but I really want you to start unpacking it. But the judgment aspect of this is pretty big. And for those of you watching, and I'm going to say the first, not judging is that's a hard one. It's very hard.
Yes.
All right.
Because this is deep stuff, and it's not as deep. It's different for everyone that receives it. That video has a lot of comments. I would say that 99% of the comments are very positive. People get it. They sort of like the way that, you know, a lot of spiritual ideas are kind of summed up in a short amount of time, and everyone seems to really focus on the appreciation piece. And again, the vast majority of people are loving it. Yes, the appreciation piece, the appreciation of everything that really freed me. I'm hearing all of these testimonials from people who have done this, whether it was people that followed our teachings or someone else's. I think we're all plugged into the same thing, you know, interpreting it maybe in different ways. And some of us are choosing to go deeper into that than others. And that's okay, because there's always this spectrum of beliefs across all of humanity. And not everyone is ready for the same message. I totally understand that. And of course, anytime you have a video that does really well, you're going to get trolls. I'm not concerned about trolls. People that are just saying negative things just to, you know, try to be negative. They don't, they don't factor into this. This is not who I'm addressing here. But for people who are really curious, who hear something like that and want to practice it, and they stop at, and I've heard this already, these are the comments, they stop at, you know, I can't employ this because my husband was murdered. I can't employ this thinking of another child being abused by an adult. The word Gaza was mentioned many times. What about what's happening in Gaza right now? What about children being, killed for no reason, and people trying to dig their passed on loved ones out of rubble and all of that stuff. So the most extreme things to detune are being presented. So what I want to do is go into that for people who really want to figure this out and practice this. So that's who I'm addressing here, not the trolls that just want to say something negative just to say something negative. They're having their experience too, as I like to say. So
well, everybody is, and I love all of the things that you just brought up about, digging into what the detuning looks like. Jennifer Lynn says, if you believe you can achieve, be your own cheerleader. Cuppa Neuroplasty, Grata, vibrate higher, edging God out. Absolutely believe. I love that. And of course, we have our lovely Leslie, who is
hello, Jennifer and Leslie. Always good to see you, Leslie. It must be in the middle of the night in Australia.
It's 4 a.m. 4 a.m.
Okay.
Hi,
oh, it is. She says that. Okay.
So I have there's a super fun something I'm going to tell you about.
What's that?
Well, in the Tya Practice, the detuning part, and I just want to tell you all, my biggest detune has been myself, has been me.
Well, yeah, that's where in the practice, that's where we start. And that's the point I was going to make. If you hear an idea like that and you race to the most extreme thing in humanity that you can possibly think of, it's self-defeating. That's your ego saying, no, you don't want to change. You don't want to grow. You want to stay exactly where you are. You're comfortable there. We don't want you going down this path. We don't want you detuning ego and allowing more source. That's your ego's perspective. And ego serves a purpose. We're not going to get rid of our ego, but we can shrink it. We can detune it. It's overdeveloped, in my opinion, in many of us. Mine was certainly overdeveloped. I think humanity has an overdeveloped ego. No judgment about that, though, because I think humanity's overdeveloped ego did get us to where we are. But now we're at this very interesting tipping point where society we're able to communicate in 3D like no time that we are aware of.
Right.
And in that communication, we're kind of comparing notes. We're coming together. We're discovering the same things, not all at the same rate. And as we're awakening en masse, we're seeing the reaction to that. For every action, there's a reaction, right? We're in a polarized environment. So the reaction is more polarity for some. Retreat back deeper into the matrix. I'm right, you're wrong. My idea is the only way to go. Everything is split down the middle. We see lots of evidence of that all around us all the time. You almost cannot avoid it unless you just completely shut down all your devices and never go online at all. You just can't avoid that polarized thinking. So how do you detune the polarized thinking? And it's deep understanding of what it does, that this polarity creates the tension that actually drives expansion of consciousness, which is what your ego does in opposition to source. So everything that we label as evil, that we like to think is maybe some demonic energy or some, dark, even spiritual people will think about dark energy and dark forces. I have gone very deep into all of this. I've gone very, very deep inward. I have meditated for all this time, to just go deep and allow what we call source to flow through me. And that's how I channel the stream. And everybody has this connection. I have gone really deep into allowing it as much as I possibly can as a human being without living on a mountaintop somewhere and shutting myself off from the world. I did shut myself off for a while to get there, though. And in that depth, I came to realize that the dark energy is our own creation that separates us from source. And again, it's vibrational. So it's a spectrum, right? There's the the lowest vibration, the highest vibration, and everybody's operating somewhere in between. So the lowest vibration, of course, is going to be harmful. It's going to be, let's destroy other people. Let's, harm other people and not even care about it. That's a very low vibration. Self-harm is a low vibration. Doing things, to ourselves that we don't want, but yet we do them anyway. We all have had that experience at one time or another. That's ego separating from source. It's not the devil made me do it. It's not some other thing that's external from you. And it's tough because then you have to accept the responsibility that you're actually creating all this yourself. But how empowering that is when you accept that reality that, hey, if I'm the one doing it, that means I have the power to stop it or change it. And Debbie, you and I are living proof that when you do some work, you can change it. and it changes your life dramatically. And you and I have both walked through fire in life, as many, probably most people watching this have. We've been through addiction and infidelity and bankruptcy. And I haven't ever declared bankruptcy, but I've been broke. um, Getting screwed over in business at work, being cheated on, having my partner contract HIV outside our relationship, being abused by parents, being told my mother telling me, she wishes I was never born and she hated my guts and why don't I kill myself? I've experienced all of that. So I've experienced my share, certainly, of unwanted experiences from an ego perspective. And I know you have as well. And we both share those things to demonstrate that you can move through those experiences and dramatically shift the trauma in them to something of light, which really is understanding how it serves your expansion of consciousness. And people that get it and they've had that experience love it when you share things like that. That's why that video is doing so well. It's lighting, again, 99% of the comments, it's lighting them up. Oh my God, I'm experiencing the same thing, or I've been through that, or I'm on this journey, or I'm a little into it and I'm so excited about it. That makes me very happy to see all of that. Feeds my ego, right? Something I'm doing is helping humanity. That's great. But I do focus on the ones that are genuinely challenged with the idea, but what about someone that was brutally raped and murdered? What about somebody who lost their child in a tragic way or any way? What about someone who's experiencing genocide or some sort of war or famine or whatever? We know those things are going on, and that certainly is presented to us on a regular basis. Here's what's going on in another part of the world to someone that you don't know, that's having a completely different experience from you. And it's very addictive for a lot of people to stay glued to their TV and watch that. So what do the news channels do now? Let's give them more. When we feed them fear, we saw that during COVID. I remember turning on CNN during COVID and they had a death count ticking on the screen. I'm like, why are we doing that? Why are we focusing everyone on the very worst aspect of this experience and not focusing on all of the other things that are happening in this experience? So it's very interesting to me that, that the fear tends to drive commerce. And we see a lot of that being peddled. So it's understandable that when someone sees a video like the one that we just showed you, that if you are operating in that vibration, that video is going to be triggering for you. But you didn't see it by accident. I understand algorithms and all of that. But if you're stopping and listening, because if you notice the video, the appreciation of all things is about 3 minutes into that video, which means somebody sat and listened to me, the bald dude, for 3 minutes for some reason, only to be triggered by it. Because it's pretty benign stuff until I get deep into it, right? So the triggers are, how do you do this? How do you do that? So that's what I want to get into.
I love that. Well, I want to talk about a couple of the things that you brought up because they're so good. The idea that you've created your reality. It's a really hard one for some people to swallow because they can blame it on alcohol. Why I don't drink anymore. They could blame it on yada, all these things happening out externally. But I think that you touched on this is only when we take full responsibility and accountability, at least in my experience, with loving appreciation of who I am in my extremely freaking imperfect humanness that I love. But that accountability is so huge. And I'm like, David, we're still alive. We're breathing. We've taken accountability. Y'all know this, right? Well, unless you're watching this later, then maybe not, but that's not the point.
Well, taking accountability is not about beating yourself up for what you've manifested.
No.
Because we manifest all of it. We create all of it, even if we don't know how we create it. And we can go into that as well. But it's the racing to the worst case scenario. And if you're doing that to troll, again, that's fine. Do your troll thing. But if you're doing that in frustration because you want to practice this and you don't know how you wrap your mind around it, here is step one. Step one is understand that is your ego presenting something to you to stop you in your tracks from expanding. And if you try to start with the worst of the worst, I did not. I was trying to detune my mother. My mother disowned me. She was not a great mother. She didn't want to be a mother. She made that very, very clear to me. We had a very tumultuous relationship when I was a teenager. Then we became friendly for a minute. When I got a little older and started making money and started doing things for her, in my 1920, I started my own business and I had some money, and I remodeled her apartment. I bought her a dog and all this stuff. We kind of became friends, and it was nice to be friends with my mother. I'd never been friends with my mother, and it was a good relationship. And then I moved off to Atlanta and came out of the closet. I moved off to Atlanta to come out of the closet. And then I met somebody. And once I met somebody, it was time to tell my parents that I was gay. And when I told her, she simply hung the phone up and she wouldn't let me call her back. So I waited a year, called her back a year later. It was around Christmas, and finally made her speak to me. I wouldn't stop. I was harassing her, really. I wouldn't just let her, do that anymore. And we had it out, and that was it. We never spoke again for the rest of her life. 20 years went by. So in that 20-year period, I went through all of these different stages of loss of my mother and all of these things until I finally came around to the realization that my mother was here having her human experience, and it didn't matter. And I kind of already knew this because this is what got me through my childhood, that it didn't matter whether she wanted me or not. And it didn't matter whether she was a good mother or not. She did her job. She brought me into the world. And here I am having my human experience. And all of this idea of what a mother is supposed to be is really a human construct. I started sort of unraveling human constructs early on because I knew I didn't have good parents, that were really doting on me and loving me the way they were supposed to. And I knew I was gay when I was 6. So, when you're not what the world tells you you're supposed to be, that really makes you question everything. I saw that as a gift early on. Even when I kept it hidden, I knew it was a gift. So that gift of that type of childhood is what led me so deeply inward to discovering that my mother was just having her experience, and it was a very troubled experience, but her soul came here to expand consciousness. And having a lifetime of troubled experience, she lived into her early 70s. So this woman had 70 years, from my knowledge, of turmoil. I don't know that she was happy for very long in her life at all. I'm not aware of that. My grandmother said she was a miserable kid. She was a pretty miserable adult. And certainly, toward the end, my brother tells me she was a very miserable person at the very end. But that was her experience. And I came to appreciate that was her journey. And when I arrived at that place of appreciation, she came to me in a dream. And in my dream, I wasn't her child. I was just witnessing her in her physical form, a way that I could understand, what was going on. And she was so happy and so joyful. She didn't have children. She was living in a house by a lake. She had a little dog with her because she loved dogs, and she was looking and picking out clothes. That was very clear to me that that's my mother in her now state, and she's at peace. And that's her eternal state of being, that she came and had her expansion of consciousness. Well, since I had that dream, she's completely detuned for me. There's nothing triggering about my mother whatsoever. My father just passed away. They've been divorced for years. My stepmother and I talked about my mother quite a bit recently, and there was no hidden trigger in any of that experience. So I know my mother is fully detuned. Well, we can detune anything. We can detune anything. So you start with yourself and your own stuff, because this concept that we're supposed to fix the world by being a keyboard warrior, sitting in, what about Gaza? What about Gaza? Well, what about Gaza? Are you traveling over there to try to stop this war? Of course you're not. You're just racing to what about Gaza to stop yourself and perhaps inspire others to stop from going down this path. If you want to do that, it's fine. If you are challenged and don't start there. You're sabotaging yourself. Start with your own stuff, because that's what happened for me. I started detuning my things. I started coaching other people to detune their things. That continued my own detuning work, which then just automatically ripples out externally. And there was a time, and I'm going to go deep here, and don't leave because I'm going to trigger you. I viewed, we had lots of mass shootings going on in the United States. And it's calmed a little bit, but certainly is still a thing here, right? Well, a couple of years ago, something popped up, Facebook or somewhere, about yet another mass shooting, and that used to really bother. I would read about it. Why is someone doing this? Let me try to understand it deeper, and I would be a little triggered by it. I wasn't triggered. I found myself at peace that I'm not having that experience. I'm not in it. I am certain they're suffering in it. The loved ones, the people that survived, that will have that terror as long as they hold on to it. people that were injured and having to overcome wounds. The people that got off the best were probably the ones that were just released from their physical vehicle, in my opinion, and returned to their completed state. And they probably in that state have full awareness of the value of what they experienced. So what I have seen from Source looks like we are infinite beings. This lifetime is a grain of sand in an ocean of sand. And in the eternal state of being, you're aware of how temporary this life experience is, and that it's not meant to be forever. It's not meant to be perfect, certainly, because no one's is. And it's a spectrum. Some of us are experiencing more extreme things, some of us less. But Source has made it very clear through me that we really have it backwards. What I call the matrix, the collective consciousness of humanity, works in reverse of universal law. And by that, I mean, we think the lucky people are the ones that are born into quote unquote privilege, the ones that are born into doting parents and, wealth, or at least, comfortable lifestyle, ease. You go through life, life is pretty easy and you get all the way through and it's just been so easy. But very, very few people are experiencing that. And I have noted in my life that there are people that are born into great ease that will still create some type of disruption at some point in their lives, whether it's illness down the road or a rocky marriage or a bad business or financial ruin or whatever it is. They're going to create something for themselves to have that experience. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
They're bored in the house.
So Source has said the beings that are projecting, we're all projecting in vibrationally as a vibrational match to the experience that we're seeking to have, the expansion of consciousness experience. Expansion of consciousness does not occur in ease. Expansion of consciousness occurs and to be born into an unprivileged situation where you are struggling and you are suffering and you have that experience. And if you're not judging it from an ego perspective, then it's an experience. I experienced coming and starving to death. I experienced coming and being a victim of murder. I experienced coming and being abused by my parents systematically. I experienced coming and not even making it out of the womb for some reason. It's a whole different mindset, but I don't think you can start there. I don't think it's not a finish line, but it's certainly not a starting point.
Well, I have a question though. The question is simple. If you're triggered, because I get this, if you're all triggered, what's in the trigger? Why? Have you asked yourself why?
Yeah, that's the first, when I don't get triggered much, and I'm not completely detuned, and I'm sure as hell not perfect, and I will never present myself. If I ever present myself as perfect, stop listening to me because something's wrong.
Something's very wrong.
Something's really wrong if I start saying I'm some perfect guru, because I'm not. I am a student of the stream's teachings. I do like to separate the stream from myself simply because all of this I get from the stream. I'm a conduit to share it. I am a human being practicing it, just like everyone else. And I love to share my practice of it. When something goes wrong in my life or imperfect in my life, I'll be the first one to share it with you. But that concept of being born into starvation or genocide or poverty or, whatever we want to, focus on, we think that that's some soul paying a debt for some other thing or just some unlucky soul. How unlucky. But Source is saying, no. That is a very advanced soul strand of consciousness that is projecting in to have the suffering experience. And guess what? Since vibration, all creation is our own creation, and vibration is a spectrum, some of those souls are going to have a very brief human experience, and it's no big deal from the eternal perspective. Grain of sand. Some are going to move through and have an ebb and flow of suffering and joy, as most people do. Some are going to find their way to the light. Some are going to take that and go deep and be sitting here on a video going way deeper into this stuff than I can go because they had the experience. Certainly there are beings that have suffered more than I have and are currently suffering more than I am. But if I race my focus to what's happening to some innocent child in Gaza as a reason to not practice this, you're never going to get to that place, that magical place that some people call awakening, some people call enlightenment. I don't use the term enlightenment much because it sounds like a switch is flipped and suddenly you're enlightened and everyone else isn't. You're superior, because that's not true.
You already said it, reconnection. It's a reconnection.
What I'm calling
I'm
awakening, you're saying, is a reconnection. It's
what you're,
it's allowing of more source really in your being.
but
I
you
look at
can't,
it like this: source
yeah.
ego never stays in balance. It's always doing this for us. And the more we detune ego, the more we allow source. And the more we allow source, the more clear we get.
I agree. I want to talk about what the practice looks like this morning. Period. Y'all, just
Well, the practice
period.
is a system. I needed a system. I understood all these ideas. And the only teachers that I have really studied, I have read Wayne Dyer, love Wayne Dyer, and Abraham, because Abraham was a channel that really allowed me to be okay with being a channel. I was very judgmental of my own channeling and kept it very hidden. Esther makes it just seem amazing to me. And that allowed me to channel. So I will always thank Esther Hicks for that. So those are the two teachers that I have followed.
Well, the
Other than that, I've
morning,
really gone inward.
but in your
And the inward
mornings,
stuff has taken me further than any external teaching has. So
it's a
all of our
sea
teachings will
changing.
always about taking you inward.
Well, that's what I want you to talk about is what is your morning like? What take people through that? I have the Tya Practice book and I use that. I listen to David, I'll listen to music, but it's very important what when we wake up to really appreciate where just the fact that you're breathing something so simple, because you said, you can't really start up here, we have to start here. So that's true. And that's where it's a good place to start. But share with them, because I know you have some really beautiful morning rituals that you do that
Well,
are
the thing
time-based.
is that really it boils down to is appreciation of all things. And it sounds like such a simple concept, but do you realize, Debbie, that we do not have a word for that? I went into AI the other day and I said, is there a word in any language that means appreciation of all things? It gave me one term, and it's mono no aware. Mono no aware. That's a translation from Japanese. I do not speak Japanese. No, I don't channel in Japanese. Um, that's the closest thing that very intelligent AI can give me to mean that. Isn't it interesting that we do not have a term to mean appreciation of all things? And I asked AI for some, and it came up with some hybrid words, and I'm like, okay, that sounds silly. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, it's
So
not,
the
it's
Tya
definitely,
practice is that. People ask me now because I have it tattooed on my arm, if you can see,
yeah,
TYA. What is that? What is that? What does that mean? And I tell them it's a mindset practice that I created and I teach. And what is it? Well, ultimately, it's appreciation of all things. And if people are into the spiritual stuff, they think it's really cool. And if they're not, they look at me like I'm insane. That's okay. But appreciation of all things is a crazy concept in the Matrix. Because what does the Matrix tell us? We cannot appreciate all things. You got to fight it. You got to push against it. You got to judge it. This is wrong. If you don't judge pedophilia and war as wrong, how are you ever going to end them? Well, we've been judging it as wrong for quite some time, and yet they don't end. There's no evidence of the pushing against and the battling ending anything. It shifts, but I don't think that we solve anything until we find appreciation for it. And appreciation does not mean celebration. Appreciation does not mean, yay, there's pedophiles out there. Of
you
course
know
not.
what?
That's
No.
insane.
Compersion means celebration. That's
Yeah.
celebrating the accomplishments of others. You're so on point there.
Yeah. But we're by appreciation, what I mean is going into deep understanding. Because when you understand someone, if you know someone that other people are labeling as wrong or bad or evil, but you know them and you have some level of appreciation for them, you aren't judging them the same way that everyone else is judging them. Yet in society, what we see is somebody does something that we consider bad. We rush to this definition of them as a one-dimensional being. I think of Ellen DeGeneres. We're talking about cancel culture now. And I used to watch her show years and years ago, and she did a lot of good things on her show. Whether she was a good person or not, I'm not making that judgment. She did a lot of good on that show. She helped poor families and veterans, and she brought people on, and it was a happy, uplifting time. And then all this stuff comes out that she wasn't always the nicest person off camera. So what does society do? Let's cancel her. She's got to go away. She's got to lose her show. We never want to see her again. She's the worst person ever. She's horrible. She's terrible. I am certain that she is not all, she's not all that. She's not all terrible. She's probably not all nice either. But we do that. We want to put everyone in this box of being this one-dimensional being and label them. They are just that. They are just that and nothing else, and they can never be anything else. Yet we're not that. We're vibrational. There are times that if somebody saw me in a moment of anger and that's all they knew of me, they would say that I was the biggest asshole they've ever seen, because I can be. I haven't been in a long time, but in my
No,
history,
no, 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 no.
I
I
I
definitely
have
have you
been
beat.
I
Oh
there have
no.
been times. What's that?
Oh no, I got you beat.
Oh,
No.
being
Okay,
an
and I
asshole.
say that because I want everybody to get this. Just because it's not Pollyanna and cupcakes.
No, we do the opposite
And
of bypassing.
and I
We
just
are digging in. We're digging in. We're not
so,
bypassing anything.
so now I'm gonna tell you how that deep appreciation works in my life, and it's intense. When you start really asking yourself the question, what's real for another person, with the willingness to be understanding and not judge it and just sit there and then internalize that, what parts of this are me? Talking about triggers, it's within you. I love how you keep bringing up the external forces that are out there in the world that y'all can go ahead. But my question is it working? How's that working for you? Because David, I'm pretty sure that you just said that nothing, it's not change. That's not changing.
Well, you're giving your creative power away when you just say, well, it's evil.
But,
It's like
but
someone saying the devil made
talk
me do
about
it.
that. Yeah,
I was
talk about what
possessed
it
by an
looks like.
evil force.
Oh no, you know what? It actually there's actually it's a form of narcissism, which is in behaviorisms, not within. There's no true narcissism is only like in 10% of the entire population, if not
Yeah.
less.
Well,
So
I'm in a relationship with a psychologist, so we talk
yeah,
about
there's not.
psychology all
It's
the time.
so little.
Yeah, people
So
talk about everybody being a narcissist. Well, on
it's
some
so.
level, I mean, everyone is self-focused, or you wouldn't survive.
Thank you.
You,
But this
you have an
particular
ego that drives you through life, and yes, you have a self-focus. You can't say you're a completely selfless being. You wouldn't be here if
correct.
that were the case. Yeah, that's what your
But
ego is really
this
for.
well, this is about a vulnerable narcissism that is within. I couldn't do that because of this, or
Yeah.
yeah, no, I lost my kids because the system sucks. I i am fat because um because you fed me too much. um
Not because I fed me too much.
no, I mean,
Well, claiming ownership of your stuff is a huge. For I don't know about 12-step programs, but I know claiming ownership of your stuff has
well,
got to be
claiming
a
ownership is
massive,
not beating
massive step. It's not part of it.
claiming ownership is not beating yourself up,
No.
just like you've been saying. And I love that there were things out there that people could find community in. And the reason that I feel that the 12-step programs worked, there was community. The problem probably lied within the fact that you had a whole bunch of people in their trauma and shit that weren't dealing with any of their real stuff, except for taking massive responsibility for crap they did to other people and creating an intense level of shame and blame and horrid feelings for themselves inside. And I'm here to say, y'all, if that's you don't have to believe that anymore. There's another way to do this where you love yourself so deeply and fully, including, oops, did I do that? Because you spilt the damn milk. And Tya gives us the tools to own that I spilt the milk without excuses, and knowing that I love myself enough to know that I spill milk.
Yeah. Well,
And when you
the thing
hear,
is, most of us need tools. And the reason I created
yeah,
Tya is because I understood what Wayne Dyer was saying. I understood what Abraham was saying. I understood what I was getting from the stream.
yeah,
But how do you apply that 24/7 in your life? How do
tell us.
because you read a book, you go to a seminar, you take a course, you get all excited. This is going to be my new way of life. And for most people, you get out, you're doing it for a little bit, and then it starts to kind of chip away. And soon you find yourself back in your old vibration with very little change, and you're having the same experience that you were having before. What I noted in boot camp, I've been teaching Tya through boot camp since 2018. And what I've noted in boot camp is people go through boot camp, they get the results, they graduate on a high. You can go watch my YouTube videos. You can go to Trustpilot. You can see how high these people are when they graduate. And then there's all this again, the spectrum of experiences after boot camp. Some people will get out and I never hear from them again. Some people get out, I don't hear from them much, and then I hear from them and they say, I'm still practicing and it's changed my life. Oh my God. Some people get out and say, well, that was, I've had one person tell me, well, I had to go do something else after that. And then I had to go do something else. And now I see they're doing something yet again. And I realized, well, that's just what they're experiencing. They like to experience new things. And my ego wants them to only do Tya, but Source is saying that's none of your business, David. Let them go do what they want to do. And I finally realized that. So in teaching it to other people, I see how when they're in it and they're doing the work, it gets them the results. The reason that the Tya toolkit works is because if you continue practicing it, you will continue to get the benefit from it. But Tya is not dogma. It's not the only way, certainly. I think that the power is within us, and anything that we choose to give power to will work for us. That's why I will say that religion is crumbling because we are wising up to it. I just see that in evidence all around us. But I'm not saying religion is bad, and I'm not saying that it didn't do its job. It served a purpose. It helped shape society to where we are now. Perhaps if we didn't have the threat of eternal damnation, of some sort, maybe humanity wouldn't have come together and created all of the technology and systems and things that we have now. Maybe not. So it's gotten us to where we are now. So instead of demonizing it, let's appreciate it, but we can also discern a preference for something different. I discerned a preference a long time ago that I don't want to be told that I'm going to burn in hell for loving somebody that is the same gender as me. I just don't believe that. I went really deep into that. I struggled with that. I tried to pray that away. My realization was I'm exactly the way that I'm supposed to be, and everybody else is as well. And we're all having our experience. The Matrix is not bad. The Matrix got us here, but now we are recreating the Matrix in a less assertive way because we don't need all of that direction anymore. We know we can know not to kill each other and how to be better to each other, to be better to the planet and better to ourselves without the threat of you're going to burn in hell if you don't do these things that we're telling you to do. And seeing the commerce drivers behind a lot of these rules, because really the whole, nuclear family idea, it drives commerce. It does, it brings people together. They create, more beings, more followers of the religion, more members of the community, more workers, more warriors, whatever it is. That's why there's so much conjecture around family units and sexual behavior and identity and all of that stuff, that you're supposed to get together, one man, one woman, or one man and many women, depending on your belief system. And you're supposed to have lots of kids. Birth control is a sin. Abortion is a sin. Have lots of kids. Well, why do we want more people? We want more people because people drive commerce. And the people at the top of the abundance pyramid financially believe that more people mean more money. And they want more money. I want more people to buy my thing. I want more people to fight my battles. I want more people contributing in some way financially because they believe that wealth expands because humanity expands in volume. So when I realized that all of those religious rules around behavior is really about that. And that's okay. Again, all of that commerce and all of those things got us here, but now we see that clearly. And what we see is a younger generation. I think what a lot of people liked about that video is I talked about how every generation is born up to speed with the time they're born into. And therefore, the youngest generation is more spiritually evolved, if you will, than generations prior. That doesn't mean that we can't get there, but we got them there. That all of that new age thinking period, which started, when did new age kind of come to be? Like in the 60s into the 70s.
Actually, no, new age started.
And then it ebbed in the 80s,
1800s, it was in the 1800s.
Well, I mean, like, when did it really become a thing though?
I think it really kicked off in the late 1950s. What you're really laying claim to, honestly, is something called the 100th monkey. It's social change, and social change 2.0, if you will, or 3.0, because the 100th monkey is exactly that. Children, the babies are the ones that started washing their yams when they did the studies back in the 50s in Hiroshima.
Yeah,
then, right.
Because the thinking evolved. The new ones are born up to speed with that vibration, and they're automatic. That's why a little kid can take a device and just figure it out and grandma can't figure it out to save her life. That's
Well, yeah.
what's going on there. And we do see evidence of that. So it's easy as a Gen Xer, we're a cynical lot. It's easy as a Gen Xer to look at the younger generation now that we're in our 50s and late 40s, wherever you are as a Gen Xer, if you are one, and criticize them. And I've told this story before, but when I moved to San Francisco, I moved into a high-rise building right in downtown. I was late 40s. I was old in my building. And these weren't cheap apartments. I think the cheapest apartment was like $4,000 a month for a studio back then. It's probably $10,000 a month for a studio now. And the average age in there was 30 something for sure. And I took note that I was the only, guy in a suit getting on the elevator and leaving in a car every day. Out of 400 apartments, I was a rarity. They were all in their pajamas running around with a laptop, with their online startup, or they were working for some company remotely. And, they were international. A lot of them were not from the United States. They played a lot of the time, they were playing ping pong, in the afternoon when I was working. So in the beginning, I almost started to criticize, like, oh, these kids living in these expensive apartments and I've got to get me in. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that to myself. Let's appreciate. And the appreciation was, wow, they get it. My anger is jealousy. I wish I had figured that out in my 20s, not thinking that I had to work my ass off in some corporate thing and climbing the ladder and moving all over the place, where I was told to move and do all the things that I did because I thought I had to do that. And, here they are just getting it. They're free. They're not getting married. They're not working for corporate. Many of them now, the youngest generation, they don't even want to be identified as a gender. And the older you get in the population, the more insane that sounds to them. But to the younger generation, this is just how it is. I don't want to be defined that way. I'm going to be non-binary. And that's still something that I understand what it is. But when somebody tells me they want to be a they, sometimes I still get tripped up. I'm like, you just kind of seem like a female to me. So I'll say she by default. And you can get yourself in a lot of trouble doing that, as you know, these days. But
well, you can't. Well, I just want to acknowledge though something that you did. And just in case anybody missed it here. So one of the things that we do is we take self-accountability here. We ask ourselves what was going on. And let's acknowledge where David just very clearly said, the reason that I was jealous was simply because I was having to work.
Exploring your trigger is a huge gift. And it's a huge part of this practice.
But I want everybody to grasp this, and I want you to hold on to it and realize what he just did, because this is so big. You can sit and you can talk about other people and what they're doing. I'm going to tell you something. I get up every day and I exercise and I do what I'm going to do. And I do it for me. I do it for what's best for me. When you're out there and you find yourself judging another person for what they're doing, do what David just did.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Why am I experiencing this way? Because if it's anything other than appreciation, you're an ego. That's the thing. The practice is detuning your ego and allowing more source. That's what it boils down to. It gives you the tools to do it.
Yes.
But that's what we're doing here. We're detuning our ego. We're detuning our judgments. We're detuning our life's transgressors. Start with your own personal transgressors. Then watch the ripple effect that happens with external transgressors. External transgressors are the things that you witness that send you racing down your spiral. A child being harmed, a dog being abused, war, all of that stuff. And I understand. This is not about becoming a callous, uncaring person. We still get to discern a preference. My preference is peace. My preference is a healthy planet. My preference is a healthy society, certainly.
Absolutely.
But it's a preference. But when we start labeling things, and this is huge, this is a huge part of this practice. When we slap the should not be label on something, then we're judging. So if I think back to, being abused as a kid or neglected as a kid, and I think about, that shouldn't have been, society tells me my parents were wrong and I got a raw deal. You all know, if you're watching this, that if you stay in that vibration, you're going to create that reality. Well, I'm a drug addict today because my mom didn't love me. Or I abused my kids because I was abused as a kid. Those excuses that we use because we are labeling something should not be. And what does it do? We focus on the exact thing that we don't want, and we create more of it in some way.
You don't want.
And so if we do that in our own lives, just think of what we're doing collectively when we look at war and all we're thinking is that shouldn't be. And I'm going to watch this every day and I'm going to think about how it shouldn't be. I'm going to go on the internet and type about how it shouldn't be. And that's all I'm going to do. And send that energy to it. We're contributing. I'm not trying to point fingers and blame and say this is your fault or any of that crap. But I'm saying is I do believe that we are contributing to the vibration of that which we do not want when we focus upon it.
Can we just say that for a minute here out loud? Do you really think the best thing we can do for people is to feel sorry for them? I mean, really? The best energy.
Well, and really, that
is,
pity is always rooted in ego, because what you're thinking is, I don't want that to happen to me, right?
Well, yeah, I don't want that to happen to me. We internalize it. We make it all about ourselves because we're selfish people. You're selfish. I hate to tell you.
Well, human nature is
human nature is selfish.
Sure, of course,
absolutely. But when I step into this, your power is just right within you, and anything that you're looking externally, David, you're so on point. Do what you're going to do and do it now. Period. I literally, you know what? Yesterday, I filled up my water bottle because I've been exercising and I need some more weight. So I simply lost the excuse, filled it with water and then used it for weights. Not because I can't go get weights, but because I don't want to put off what I could be doing right now when I could be doing it right now. It's very, very simplistic. And every morning, because we're coming to the end of the show, and I really want to drill this stuff home. Every morning we have our book to read. Okay. We're here. And every day we read this as a guide, as a, what can I focus on differently? This is the Tya Practice book. Okay. You can find this at thestreamofdavid.com. You can find this on Amazon. It's a #1 bestseller. You really need to get this. This is an excellent start. You know, David was saying in the beginning of the podcast that we can't just start here, you know. So you start where you can. And if you can't do the book right now, don't let that also be an excuse for you, because we have the Tya Practice
group. Yeah, I want to touch on that too, because I will talk about another way people sabotage themselves is they'll hear a teaching from someone and they'll hear me say boot camp and they think, oh, you're just trying to sell me boot camp. I had somebody one time on a TikTok say, I don't trust what you say because you have links in your bio. It's like, most of my links is to free stuff. What are you talking about? But here's the truth. I teach Tya everywhere, all the time, for free. Podcast, these videos, YouTube, I don't hold anything back. So if you're using that as an excuse, you're doing that to yourself, because I offer this for free. I want all of humanity to get this. Does the book go deeper and help you more? Absolutely it does. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, which you're part of Kindle Unlimited. It doesn't cost you anything extra to read. I don't know what you pay for Kindle Unlimited, because I've gone back to old school. I used to be a Kindle person. I've gone back to hardcover and paperback. But so you can read the book there. We will get the book into libraries at some point, but we have to get off of Kindle Unlimited to be able to do all of that distribution. So we're still in Kindle Unlimited right now. Boot camps for people that are ready for boot camp. I don't think boot camp's for everybody. If you want to spend 12 weeks working on a program and you want to invest thousands of dollars in your learning of Tya, then that's for you. But you don't have to do that. You know, I love the people that do. I have not really promoted boot camp in quite some time, but people still enroll. They come to me and say, I want to enroll. I say, this is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to need to do. If you're not ready for that, you're wasting your money. Don't do it. And they enroll anyway. So, so you do all of that. So no, this is not about getting you to try to spend money on anything. So if you're sabotaging yourself that way, or if you're sabotaging yourself with thinking, well, this guy's telling me to appreciate and I can't appreciate this list of things, so I'm not going to do it. Explore that if you want to. Explore, am I just sabotaging myself in some way? Can I do this? Step 1, detune your judgment of the financial system, because if you're not where you want to be financially and you're judging the system, that's a big reason why. That's all I'll say about that. Step 2, the detuning. Appreciation. Appreciation means deep understanding. We seek to deeply understand. We don't give it power by judging it and saying it shouldn't be. It's pointless, because it is. We also do not bypass by pretending it isn't happening. That's a big point that I wanted to make. I know I'm talking over you, Debbie. I'm so sorry. But
You are not talking over me. I'm just keep wanting to show them the book. I want you to say what you're going to say right now because I love you.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to say something. I was talking over you, but I don't want you to think that we're promoting bypassing either. When we're saying don't give it power by judging it and saying it shouldn't be, we're also not pretending like it isn't happening. You should not have to do that about any aspect of humanity. If you are in a practice that is causing you to hide from things, that's going to get you at some point. And you're going to realize you can't hide anymore from life and society. You don't have to hide. The way through that is to seek to understand deeper. That's the key to everything. Your own triggers, when you get triggered by something, and we did demonstrate that on this episode, if you get triggered, ask yourself why you're being triggered. That's beautiful information. That's amazing when you get triggered, because if you learn a reaction, you can teach yourself this. When I'm triggered, the first thing I want to know is, why am I being triggered? What's going on in my subconscious mind that's running all the time for me, that it's just now being revealed to me because I happen to be triggered in this moment. So always explore your triggers. Ask yourself why you're being triggered. Then when you get to the trigger, you detune it through appreciation. Seek to have a deeper understanding of it. Think about what it's done for you that is positive. And if you can't think of anything, just go into blind appreciation of it. That blind appreciation of it is just a step. It's not a destination. That's going to align you with source, because source is appreciation of all things. You want to be a being of source. You want to be a being of light and detune your ego. Appreciation of all things is what source is. Source creates all of it. So why would source create something that it's judging as should not be? It doesn't. So if you want your source to flow more freely, it is always going to be found in that appreciation piece. And if you can't readily appreciate something, work on it, explore. And I'm not asking you to rush to appreciating the war in Gaza as a first step. That's way down the road, way down the road of understanding that other people's experiences is something they're experiencing in their vibration, and you can observe it and understand it, and you can actually take the judgment of should not be out of it. And when you do that, the clarity of source comes in, and you will get clear on it. Not because I'm telling you what that clarity is, but because you will experience it for yourself. And as always, I will wrap up with all of the things that I teach and I talk about. I'm giving you morsels to go apply in your life if you choose to do so. This isn't gospel that anybody has to follow. Try it for yourself. Do your own experimentation and see what it does for you. If it works for you and you like it, consume more. If you're not into this and it's not your thing, then it's not your thing. There's something else that's out there.
Thank you, David. Once again, today has just been rock star. Absolutely. thestreamofdavid.com. That's where you'll need to be going. Purchase the book, The Tya Practice. Let us also please mention Katrina Wonders, please.
Katarina Wonders.
Katarina. I'm not even.
We knew her as Kat for a long time, and now she's gone back to she really wants to be Katarina. So. Katarina Wonders.
Love you, Katarina.
My co-writer, fabulous co-writer of the book, The Stream of David. Absolutely. She's a very curious spiritual seeker, and she's been into the stream now for quite some time. She's been through my mastery and all of that stuff, and she co-wrote the book with me. She also happens to be an editor and ghostwriter, and she asked the questions of the stream that we think most of humanity wants to ask of something like that. So that's what the book's all about.
And you really want to grab it. Again, you can watch it on Amazon Unlimited, I believe is what you said. Or no.
The book? Kindle Unlimited.
Kindle Unlimited.
Somebody asked why it's called Tya. Thank you. Tya originally stood for Trust Your Abundance. It still does.
Great question.
I was really into law of attraction before I kind of moved through that more into, going into this deep appreciation of all things, the thing that we don't really have a word for. And what I came to understand is that it always comes down to trust. That even when whatever you're wanting to experience isn't there, when you trust that it will be and just relax into that trust, it eventually shows up. And the more efficiently, I won't say faster, the more efficiently you trust, the quicker things happen in your life. So it really all comes down to trust, trusting the universe, trusting your own well-being. Abundance means whatever it is that you want to experience.
I love that. It's a hard one to swallow for some.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, the matrix, if you will, teaches us the exact opposite. Don't trust. Work hard. Work hard and maybe you're lucky, or maybe you're born into the right circumstances. And if you're not, oh well, you're screwed. That's not true, because I was certainly not born into the best circumstances, but I did trust my way through it.
And that's really it. And, I know that for some of you, even the word trust could be a trigger. And I fully appreciate that. And I encourage you to ask yourself why, and to really take a deeper look into the masks that you're wearing. And I encourage you to get books like Tya, to join the Tya Practice on Facebook, to go to the streamofdavid.com, which it is going across the screen. If you're listening on the podcast, the streamofdavid.com, go buy your book. Please leave a review, get back with us, and let us know how this is resonating with you. How is this affecting your internal vibration? Because that's what you're in control of. And that is what I love most about the Tya Practice. Trust your abundance. Thank you, David Strickel. You are truly an amazing creator. Oh, hold on one second. We're not going to go. We're just going to see. I find it challenging reading. Is there training available to learn this? To read? Yeah. David will post the links to the Tya Practice group.
Yeah, I would say get into the Facebook group because in the Facebook group we post everything. Even if you're not a Facebook person, create a fake account, join the Tya Practice group. That's a good way to do it. The podcast, the Tya Practice podcast, and the Stream of David podcast. The bigger podcast is the Stream of David. We've been at it since 2017. Those two podcasts are a good way to learn this stuff as well.
So I went ahead and posted the link to the Tya group into the chat. I have been a practitioner of Tya, practicer of Tya.
You and Joe both, right?
Yeah. 7 years now. That's 6 years with David and I. And all I got to say is, listen, if what you're doing isn't working, just do something different. And this is a really easy peasy lemon squeezy thing to do different. Okay. So without further ado, David, I appreciate you tremendously. I do want to do a shout out. You guys can see David and myself live at the end of this month on March 29th through the 31st at Soul Good Campout. Soul Good Campout is located at Sky Valley in California. So it's up in the desert hot springs area, Joshua Tree area. So you want to come and see us there. David will be doing a channeling live. He's also going to be doing a book signing. So it's a really great opportunity to meet David in person and get some questions asked. You'll see me on stage. I'll be hyping you out, pumping you up. I'm the pump you up chick, promise.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm if you get on our mailing list, our newsletter, but I believe I'm on that Saturday. I'm at 11 a.m.
Yes.
on Saturday. And we're going to go for about an hour and a half, and then we're going to do a book signing after. So if you're out in Southern California, or can be, come hang out in the desert. I'm calling it hippie camp.
Hippie camp. You know what? It's going to be a serious. We're going to have we have a music festival. We have a silent disco happening. We are going to be dancing under the stars, and we will be doing a rinse and repeat of this right here in Alamosa, Colorado, at the Gratitude Ranch. You can find us now on Facebook. We'll talk about that another time, though. Right now, I just want to say a big thank you. Go get your book, and David, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Debbie. Thanks.